made the switch from like, and I'm sure like Glow Recipe is definitely much bigger than it was when you started working there, but at the time it was a startup, made the switch into corporate and now are at Coty. So can you tell us about what your new role is and like what your day-to-day looks like?
Yeah, so again, I'm on the global marketing team, doing skincare development. So for anybody who doesn't know, like anything that you buy in a store, you can like put creating new stuff into the category of CPG, so consumer packaged goods. But what I do is like, launching consumer packaged goods in the beauty industry. So I've done that for my whole career so far. So I'm doing that again at a new brand called Philosophy. Not new to me, but people know. Yeah, you guys, most people probably know Philosophy, the Purity One-Step Cleanser. It's like the #1 facial cleanser in America. Pore extractor mask. It's different for me. The reason I wanted to jump here is because there is a big repositioning effort and a big push to relaunch the brand. So it's a really cool opportunity to work on a skincare brand that, had so much cachet back in the day. It was one of the first derm-inspired brands. It was one of the first brands to play in well-being and in like holistic wellness, which is so relevant today, but it launched in the mid-90s. And it's a brand that like I remember using when I was younger. So it was a jump that I made because I was excited to be able to work on a whole brand repositioning effort, which is underway. And that was kind of what drove that decision. So it's super cool, but still the global piece, which is taking something from concept, like an innovation concept, all the way through the development of the packaging, of the formula, of the claims testing, et cetera, legally vetting it, getting it in a box, and then doing an activation brief and bringing a 360 activation to life with a whole huge team of cross-functional partners.
I was going to say, we take that little tube of lotion for granted. Little do we know.
Yeah, little do we know. It takes a lot of time. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, can you dive in there a little bit? Because this is such a cool job to have. And I think one that no one ever would be like in college saying, oh yeah, I'm going to be a brand builder. I'm going to take skincare products from concept to counter. Like, I know because I've talked to hundreds of like women in that age, and like no one even knows that that's even a thing that someone can even do and get paid for, which I feel like are the best like secret gems out there in marketing. So tell us a little bit more. You called yourself a concept and brand builder. So please share some insight on how to bring products from concept to counter and like your insight around brand building or anything you could share around that area in case like someone's interested in doing that for their career.
Yeah, I think you're so right. People don't realize it's a thing that you can do, which is why I'm like, just so you know, it's in CPG, it's like this. It's like people that like think about like a Colgate or a Johnson and Johnson, like making your toothpaste. Like those are brand managers who bring like, the new toothpaste to the world. It's the same idea in makeup and skincare and fragrance. It's like the global marketing team builds a concept and then creates something that is ultimately launched and hopefully people fall in love with. So it's a really cool job. It's a big responsibility. I think it's like, it speaks to this like creative part of me where I wanted to be a photographer and I practiced like making photographs because I really liked like having one thing at the end that was done and was a final product and was like a beautiful, perfect thing. And I think that that's what I like about what I do is you work with a whole team of people to make something perfect from start to finish. So to give you some insight into like how it works, for example, is so kind of depending on where you go, you have a lead time, like how long it's going to take for something to be kicked off as like an innovation concept to all the way when it's like gone through its campaign and is launched. So it could be anywhere from like literally at a tiny brand, it could be like 7 months. At a big brand, it could be like 12 to 36. Like it totally depends on where you are and what you're working on, and all of like the legal kind of like stuff that has to happen to get it out the door. So in skin, we're very, very, I think in any beauty thing, you're very inspired by what the competition is doing. And I think you get a solid foundation in that in school, right? Like you're doing like a competitive analysis, you're looking at how similar things have sold, you're trying to figure out like, what could I do to differentiate my offering? But like that's like an easy way to describe like, okay, we know we need a moisturizer or we know we need a cleanser, etc. the really exciting thing that happens is sometimes there's just like a breakthrough idea that comes out of nowhere. And then you get to create something that's like a totally new segment or something super innovation, like something super innovative that nobody's seen before. Like at Fresh, I worked on a product called the Rose Deep Hydration Oil Infused Serum, which was a hybrid like liquid essence plus oil. So it kind of does the function of like a serum in a liquid format. So it's super wearable. It's like a facial oil for people who hate facial oil. And there was no, like, that didn't really exist. It was inspired by stuff that kind of existed, but that idea didn't exist. So we spent a lot of time, and it's like very, you know, of this job, we spent a lot of time like fighting about what do we call it? Do we call it an oil essence? Do we call it a liquid oil? What do we call it? We ended up on oil infused serum. And yeah, that guy's been super loved too. I was just looking at Sephora and it has like over 1,000 4.5-star reviews.
Oh
Another pink success story.
Like, actually, all I do is make products pink, and that's like the only reason they.
I actually think that might be like the secret joke of it all. I don't think I can do something that's super successful and not pink, but
wow. And tell me, like, so you just like curious as to how that conversation goes, like coming up with the name for a product, especially with like skincare, is a huge thing, right? I'm looking at a bunch of oils, like to me, they all look the same. And like what's differentiating it is like maybe reviews, the brand, maybe like the packaging has like a say and like what it looks like, but like the name too, like what is this called? Is this going to resonate with me? Is this going to make me feel like, you know, whatever, like you probably know more about like how I want to feel when I'm purchasing that, but like, how do those debates go? And like, how are you thinking about like what factors are being taken into consideration when naming a product?
Totally. So it's a few things. It's one is like, okay, what is my competitive set doing? Like if I pull everything that's like very vaguely similar in the market, what do they say? What do they do? What is the name like? What is the texture like, et cetera? Like how close are we to that? But then you also consider internally, what is the rest of my portfolio like? What is the rest of, like, if we take Fresh, the Rose line, for example, like what else was in Rose at the time? Like there was already a serum, kind of like a traditional serum texture. So we were like, okay, so we're probably gonna have to discontinue the serum potentially. We may need to, or maybe we call this not a serum, like maybe we don't use the word serum. So you look at what you already have in your range, obviously, and what you have in different franchises within your range. And then exactly to your point, you kind of think about what is the thing that you want people to feel. Like you can run like a consumer test where you have people try a sample blind, and then you ask them like, okay, these are 5 names that we're thinking, this is something that happens a lot. It's like, these are 5 names that we're considering. Like, which one do you feel resonates the best? Which one do you feel like, which subline, like if I had to give you a descriptor of the product, which one fits what you used the best? And that's actually, that can tend to be the decision maker. It depends. But yeah, it's kind of it's a mixture of all 3 of those things.
Yeah.